4 trucks, no investors, no inheritance, no degree in business. Just a guy who started with 1 bucket, 1 bottle of chlorine, and a bicycle. Today, he turns down offers from companies that want to buy him out, and most people walking past him at the grocery store have no idea he's sitting on more equity than half the small business owners in his city. We'll get to the offer he refused, but first you need to understand what almost nobody sees about the business of cleaning pools. Most people look at a service like this and think, small job, small ceiling, mow a lawn, walk a dog, clean a pool. It's what you do before you find a real career, not the destination itself. That assumption is exactly what this guy quietly exploited. Let's go back to the beginning, the part nobody films. He wasn't chasing a business plan. He needed cash, and a neighbor needed someone to keep algae out of a backyard pool once a week. $25. Cash, 15 minutes of work. That was the entire business. 1 person, 1 pool. No system, no ambition beyond the next $25. Here's where it gets interesting. He didn't quit after the first summer. And he didn't stay at 1 pool either. He did what almost nobody in a small job thinks to do. He treated it like a route, not a favor. Every new client wasn't just extra income. It was 1 more stop on a map he was quietly building in his head. By the end of year 1, he had 11 pools and a bicycle that couldn't carry his equipment anymore. So he bought a truck. Truck number 1. Most people would stop right there. 11 pools, 1 truck, steady income, comfortable enough. That's the ceiling most people assume exists in this kind of work. But here's the number that changes the whole story. The swimming pool cleaning services industry in the United States is on pace to bring in an estimated $8 billion in revenue by the end of this year, and it's one of the most fragmented industries in the country. No single company controls more than 5% of the market. Read that again. No single company controls more than 5%. That means in an $8.8 billion industry, there is no dominant player, no brand, no chain that owns the category the way a fast food company owns burgers. It's thousands of small operators, each running their own tiny piece of an enormous pie. Most of them never look up long enough to notice that. He did. If no one owned the market, that meant the market was still available to be built, not invented, just assembled, 1 route at a time, out of a business everyone else treated as a ceiling instead of a floor. Truck number 2 came 18 months later. Not because he wanted a bigger truck, because he'd hired his first employee, and 1 person, 1 truck, couldn't service the growing list of accounts anymore. This is the part of the story that almost never gets told, because it isn't dramatic. There was no single decision that changed everything. There was no lucky break, no viral moment, no dramatic pivot. There was just a decision, repeated. Every time the workload outgrew the capacity, add capacity. Don't wait for it to become urgent. Don't wait until you're overwhelmed to hire. Hire slightly before you need to, and let the business absorb people faster than it absorbs stress. Most small operators do the opposite. They wait until they're drowning, hire in a panic, train badly, and lose clients in the chaos. He never let it get that far. Truck number 3 showed up 2 years after that, and this one didn't come from more residential pools. It came from something almost nobody in this business bothers chasing: commercial accounts. Apartment complexes, small hotels, whole-run community pools that need a contract, not a handshake. Commercial contracts don't pay per visit. They pay on a schedule, whether the pool needed cleaning that week or not. That's the sentence that quietly separates a job from a business. Predictable, recurring revenue that shows up whether he shows up in person or not. By this point, he wasn't the guy cleaning pools anymore. He was the guy who owned the company that cleaned pools, and the difference between those 2 sentences is the entire lesson hiding inside this story. Then came truck number 4, not from growth, from acquisition. A competitor smaller, older, tired, wanted out. No dramatic bidding war, no private equity fund circling. Just 1 small operator deciding retirement mattered more than 1 more summer, and another operator deciding he'd rather own a route than build one from scratch. He bought the truck. He bought the client list. He bought years of relationships that would have taken him another 2 years to build organically. 4 trucks, dozens of employees, hundreds of recurring accounts in a market where, remember, that number no single company controls more than 5%. He didn't need to become the biggest. He just needed to become bigger than small enough to ignore. And that's exactly the moment somebody noticed him. A regional consolidator one of the growing number of companies quietly buying up fragmented home service businesses across the country, approached him with an offer, a real number, enough to walk away entirely, enough that almost anyone in his position would have said yes on the spot. He said no, not out of stubbornness, out of math. He'd built something that threw off consistent, recurring cash flow every single month, whether he personally worked that week or not. Selling meant trading a compounding asset for a single lump sum, and once that lump sum was spent or reinvested somewhere less understood, there was no guarantee it would ever perform the way this business already had, year after year, for over a decade. He wasn't selling a job. He was being asked to sell a machine that had already proven, for years, that it worked without him standing next to it. So, he kept the trucks. Here's the lesson underneath all four of them. Nobody becomes wealthy by finding one job nobody else wants and staying small inside it. And nobody becomes wealthy by chasing only the industries that look impressive from the outside. Wealth, more often than the highlight reel suggests, is built quietly inside categories everyone else has decided are beneath their ambition, the ones fragmented enough that there's still room, and boring enough that almost nobody bothers competing seriously. An asset doesn't need to be exciting to compound. It just needs to keep producing value, whether or not you're the one standing over it with a net and a bucket of chlorine. 4 trucks. One decision, repeated for over a decade, build slightly ahead of the demand. And don't sell the machine just because someone finally noticed it works.